Hi, I'm Lori George with Let's Make Art. Welcome to part 2 of our Acrylic Beginner Series. Today, we're going to talk all about brushes. So let me show you what we've got. So here are several brushes, not all of the different types of brushes that you can use with acrylic paint, but quite a few. And let me lay them out a little bit for you. So we have some that are in common here. This would be the flat family of brushes. So we have our 1-inch flat, 3/4 inch flat, 1/2 inch flat here, okay? And then we also have an angular wash, very similar to the flat brush.
That's the troublemaker in the family.
The troublemaker in the family, yep. Got kind of the, where's the hat sideways a little bit, maybe?
Exactly,
Okay.
or backwards
Got some
even.
attitude, yeah. Okay, and then also in the flat family is our Filbert brush, which as you can see, Filbert, it's similar in like the belly shape of it, it's flat, but it has a rounded toe.
Oh,
Top there.
Uncle Filbert.
Uncle Filbert, yes. This is the flat family with Uncle Filbert and
Tommy.
Wayward Youth.
Wayward Youth.
Okay, so there we go. That's our flat family. We'll talk more about these in a minute here, and I'll show you the different types of brush strokes that you can make with each of these. Or some of them, not all of them, right? Okay, and here we have, I got some, Keenan, I got these in paint.
Good.
A little bit crazy over here.
That's called priming.
Okay. So we also have the the round family of brushes. So if you've done watercolor, you're probably familiar with round brushes. Let's see. Okay, so here we have, and all of these brushes within the flat family or the round family, they come in so many different sizes. You can get huge brushes if you're working on large pieces or canvases, and you can also get very, very small detail brushes if you're working on miniatures or just want to get some small fine details. So here we have a round 12, a round 8, and a round 4. So rounds have a little bit more of they have a cylindrical shape, but still come to a point at the end. And they're great for watercolor because they hold quite a bit of water and help you work on your brush control. Okay, so there's that. And then also within the round family are our liners. Have you ever used a liner?
I actually like liners. I didn't realize there was a difference like a couple years ago. And I was using a liner more than a round, like a regular round.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Difference. And I loved it.
It's nice. Do you know what the main difference is between a liner and a round?
I think the bristles are longer than in a liner.
The bristles are longer, and there's usually fewer of them, but the longer bristles allows you to have more water in there so that you can get longer lines and you want more fluid.
See, that makes sense.
Yeah. All right, so I'll show you too.
Perfect.
Can demonstrate. You know, a couple other brushes that I like. This is a mop brush, similar to a filbert brush, but it is more full. See, does that show on the side cam there?
Yep, it looks good. I can't show you because there we go.
Okay, so maybe can you see there that?
Yeah.
Even up higher.
It's a little more full.
There we go. There you go. See how this has more bristles to it? Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll show you that here in a little bit too. And then we have our fan brush for some nice fun details and the chip brush.
The chip brush.
Yes. Got some fun stuff with that as well.
Old chip.
Okay. So do you know the different parts of a brush? Let's talk about that.
Ooh, yes, please.
Okay. So most brushes all have these similar parts here. So we have our handle and we have our ferrule, which is this metal part. We have a crimp right here, which is where the ferrule attaches to the handle. Then we have our hair or our bristles of our brush. So this would be the head of our brush. And did you know that this end of the brush is called the toe? I did not know that. This end of the brush is called the heel. Oh. And the fullness of the brush, when you kind of lay it down, is called the belly. Oh. Yeah. Aw. So those are the parts of a brush. Okay?
Nice.
All right, so let's look and see what kind of brush marks we can make. What do you think?
Yes, please. I'm excited about the flat family.
Yes. So I paint most of the time with flat brushes. I love flat brushes. They allow me to do so many things. You can do nice lines with them. You can do washes with them. I just feel like they're very versatile and they're very popular for acrylic especially. So let me go ahead and show you. I'm going to pick up some magenta here. And when you are loading your brush, let me move this just a little bit here. When you are loading your brush, you want to keep the paint on the bristles of the brush or the hairs of the brush. Now these are all synthetic, by the way. Brushes come in different fibers or bristles or hairs, natural or synthetic. I prefer all synthetic for acrylic because acrylic can be a little bit harder on your brushes than say watercolor or something like that. And so the synthetic's gonna hold up a little better. And the nice snap that you get, let me show you with this one. The nice snap that you get when you kind of bend it.
The bend and
is
snap.
really nice too for acrylic, yeah, and the synthetic helps with that. Natural hairs are good for other things. Okay, so when I load my brush, I don't want to get all the way to the heel or into the ferrule. I want to kind of avoid getting too much stuff up in the ferrule because that's going to kind of deteriorate the construction of your brush, kind of loosen the glues. I have several where I can just twist the handle off because they've been mistreated. So little tip from experience there.
Oh dear.
So I'm going to load my brush. And you do want to add a little bit of water when you are mixing your paints. And I like to just have kind of a nice fluid movement here as opposed to really thick and gloppy. Really, the goal that I have is to not have too much drag. I'll show you what I mean by that. So here I'm just going to show you what happens when I just use the belly of the brush to make a line. So I'm going to push down and pull. Okay, and as I get going, there's a little bit of drag in there. See where it doesn't quite cover the whole part. Okay, but that is a line, one of the lines we can make. Okay. Now let's see what kind of a thin line we can make with this brush. So I'm just going to hold it up, straight up and down and use the toe of the brush to make a line.
The toe.
And I'm going to try to put barely any pressure on there. Okay, so you can make a line.
See, that's why I like the flat family.
I'm telling you, it's my favorite.
It's so good.
It's my favorite.
It's so good.
Okay, and then I'm gonna let's do like a little push and pull, push and pull, push and pull. Okay.
What?
And then let's turn it vertically and see what kind of marks we can make. I'm gonna pull down. I'm just gonna kind of do a little pull down. So those could be petals or some little dots and marks you can make. One thing I like to do too is use the corner of my brush.
Those could even be bodies of bugs.
You are right.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. I'm gonna make some little dabs here with the kind of the corner of my brush. Those could be flowers or dots, anything, adding some texture there.
Cool.
Okay, so that is a flat brush. And one thing I like to do, if you've seen any of the other beginner series or any of my other tutorials, you know that I like to keep a brush board or an extra piece of paper handy to brush off my extra paint. So that's what I'm gonna do here. And sometimes I think a lot about it. Usually I don't. My goal is just to get it on there. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and wash out my brush using this water basin here, wash basin. And I'm using the side that has the ridges, the long ridges, to help get into the brush. What I'm doing is I'm kind of running it back and forth and back and forth, okay? And then on this side, I can kind of scrub it a little if I need to, if there's any paint that's getting in the heel. Yeah? Okay, so that is our flat brush. All right, would you like to see our Filbert brush?
Yes.
Well, real quick though, the angled brush, so what's the difference between a flat and an angled brush? Obviously you can see that one is angled at the top and one has a straight edge. So the angled brush is great for getting into the grooves, like in shading and things like that, because you can really get in like this and touch the paper that way, have less here, and it holds a little bit less paint and water when you're trying to do some of those details. I kind of go between the flat. I use the flat the most, but for a while there I was using angled quite a bit as well. We can go ahead and show you. Let's show you what angled can do. Pick up this green color. Add a little bit more water. Okay, so let's put down on the belly of the brush and see what we can get. That one I didn't have enough paint loaded on there. Try that again. What do you think?
Wow, nice.
Like that color?
Yeah, I do. That's bright. That's a bright, fun color.
That is a bright, fun color. It's called bright yellow green.
Of course it is.
They are very honest in that color. Name, right? Okay, and then I'm just gonna kind of tap down. These could be some nice, what do those look like?
Like little Christmas trees.
Little Christmas trees,
Yeah.
Or some leaves, definitely like a nice little organic type shape there.
Yes.
And then I'm gonna pull like a line there. Very similar to the flat. So push and pull, push and pull, push and pull, push and pull. Let's see what kind of dots you can get here. Dabs.
Oh, wow.
And see if I went here, it would be, it's harder to get on the edge there. Yep. So that is your angular shader brush.
The old angular shader.
Yes. What paintbrush are you most familiar with, Kanan?
I would probably have to say the round 8.
The round 8?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of the round 8 because, I don't know, it just feels better.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
I also like the 10 though. 8 and 10. Those are my jam. Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
I can never find a flat brush to use.
Well, we're gonna fix that. We're gonna make sure that you have some flat brushes to use. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about our filbert brush here. Here we have our filbert brush, also referred to as cat's tongue.
Oh.
I don't know where that came from, but.
And Uncle P.
And Uncle, oh, is it PH?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's
Wait,
F.
is it Filbert spelled with an F?
F, yeah.
Oh,
F-I-L-B-E-R-T,
literally
Filbert.
it's Phil.
You were thinking like Phil?
Yeah, like
okay,
Philip.
Phil. Sure. Okay. Well, we can ask them to change it.
You know what?
I mean, it's been like that
I'll
for.
email them myself.
Okay, whoever they are.
Yes.
You go for it. You let me know how that goes. Okay. So, with the filbert brush, you'll see that it has a nice rounded edge to it, which is great for blending and removing any of those harsh lines you might get with a straighter edged brush. So here I'm going to lay this down to get the belly of the brush. Oof, I like that.
Yeah, that's nice.
A little drag there, but that doesn't bother me because I'm usually not doing that long of a stroke. And to fix that, you would add a little more fluid and or a little more paint. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to kind of pull off some of the paint there. See what kind of a line we can get. And I'm just trying to barely touch there. Okay, and push and pull, push. So definitely rounded. I don't have kind of the little point that would have over there. Okay, and then if I do the side here, kind of pull down, dabs. Now I love the filbert brush for flowers and for petals.
It's a multi-talented tool right there.
Yeah, they're great for clouds, and I think they make a better dot than most of the other, even a round brush. Yeah, so that is the filbert brush. I think it's fun to use it for blending and making organic shapes. Yes. Okay, so next we're gonna get into the rounds. Keenan, this is where you will shine, right?
Ooh, I don't know about shining, but I'll understand more.
Right. So one thing I just did is I got a little bit of paint up here where my ferrule is, the metal part of the brush, and so I'm just gonna take my paper towel and pull it through there and then continue washing my brush.
That's a handy water basin.
It is. It is. I love having those. Okay, let's go into our round brushes. So we have, what size should we use? I have the 12, I have the 8,
Yep.
and I have a 4.
Ooh, the 8, that's the one.
Okay, let's go with Keenan's favorite here. Let's try the 8. So the round brush, as we were talking about, has a point at the end and it has a larger belly. It holds more water in the cylindrical shape there. Let's see, let's do orange. Also, Keenan's favorite color, I'm learning, yes?
Yes, it is.
Wow, that just worked out.
That did, that's amazing.
Man, what a day.
Unplanned.
It's the little things.
This is a big thing for me.
Yeah, all right, I'm glad. Okay, so once again, so the way I'm loading this brush is a little different than the flat. Flat, I kind of go back and forth, back and forth. With this one, I'm kind of dabbing and then rolling it. And then to make sure I don't have too much, I'm gonna roll it right before I'm ready and dab it just the tip right before I do my line here. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and push it all the way down and just do the belly of the brush. Nice. So similar to the filbert in terms of shape with a little bit of a rounded edge there. And now I'm gonna do a finer line. Now, did you know to get a finer line, you make your paint a little more fluid, and you can do that by increasing your water or increasing your using a medium like flow aid or something like that.
Ooh, flow aid's
which
cool.
we'll talk about in, I guess that's part 4 of a beginner series.
Perfect.
Okay, so make a line there. A lot of watercolor artists use round brushes. Some acrylic artists also use round brushes quite a bit. It's a nice brush. You can blend really well, and you don't have any you don't have as many lines from your brush strokes as you would like a flat brush. Okay, so I'm just gonna make some little marks down. Look at that. Great for petals again. And really, like all of these, using it vertically like this or using it kind of pushing down is make nice organic petal shapes.
Yeah, that
So
green
you can
is
just
probably
kind
my
of decide
favorite
what you
shape
like.
so far.
Green? Yeah, that's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yep.
And I'm going to make some little dots too.
Oh, so you got that fine point.
Yeah.
That's why I like the 8. It's got a good belly.
Yep.
Good fine point.
Yep.
When needed.
I like it. I think I'm a believer. I think I like the 8 too.
Nice.
Very nice. Okay, and you know what I recommend with brushes is to maybe have a separate set of acrylic brushes if you do watercolor, because acrylic is a little harder on your paint or on your brushes, and so you don't want to ruin your very fancy, expensive watercolor brushes with acrylic. And honestly, what I like to do is I'd rather have multiples of, say, like my favorite brushes, like my flat brushes. I'd rather have several of them the same in a medium quality or medium price point, rather than having like one really expensive fancy one. That's kind of how I like to work.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, where are we now? So let's go ahead and try a liner brush. Yes. We talked about with a liner how we are gonna make it more fluid. Do you know what liner brushes are good for, Keenan?
I want to say,
what are some uses?
I want to say I used one for, I think it was a liner 4, and I used it for writing the word witches.
Witches?
Yes, it was for a Halloween project.
Oh, okay.
And I said witches get stitches, but I misspelled it, and I said withes. So it was a whole thing.
Was this a long time ago or recently?
No, this was within the last couple of years. It was awkward.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah, you know.
Anyway, so, all right. So here I got the liner 4 here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm using, for this one, instead of using the heavy body or soft body paint, I'm going to use the Phthalo Blue fluid acrylic, because it's already fluid. You can use any paint. You just want to add a little bit more water, or if you're using like a medium that adds some flow to it, you can add that to it to get a nice consistency, because you're going to want it very inky like. Okay. I love this color so much.
It's a good color.
It's my favorite blue. All right. Liners are great for details. Ooh. And they'll hold, they can have a longer continuous line usually, but you do have to refill them more often when they're small. Okay, okay, so let's see how tiny of a line I can get here. Ooh.
Yeah, see?
Yeah? That's nice.
That's a good one.
There we go.
That looks cool. It almost looks twisted rather than like an up and down thing.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like a braided rope almost.
That's cool.
That is cool.
And then these could be good for like grasses or adding little like whiskers if you did it really like lightly.
Snap, yes.
Yeah. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just holding the end of my brush rather than holding it down here where I have more control. I want to paint a little looser. And so I'm just kind of like letting my shoulder do some of the work. And you get kind of more organic, loose strokes. I actually think those are really pretty. Let's see what kind of dots we can get. Let's see,
oh, that's got to have good little dots.
Yes, those are fun. This is also great for like writing. If you want, I know some artists that sign their name with a liner brush. So we could write, let's see, I want to write my name. Not the best option necessarily when we've got lots of different options at Let's Make Art for that. Okay, so that is a liner brush.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next, I will show you the mop brush. Mops are very similar to filberts, like I showed before, but are a little more full and make a slightly more full shape as well. So what color? Let's go back to pink here. Have you ever used a mop brush?
Not that I remember.
No.
I like to call this one Mavis, though.
Mavis, okay.
Yes, I've seen this one in use.
Okay. Yes, I know. I think Jesse uses this one too.
Yes, Jesse uses it.
They're fun. It's just, especially if I'm trying to do like some loose florals or like, you know, kind of like a field of flowers or something like that. Like you can really get some nice impressionistic type strokes with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get the belly of the brush. Ooh, look at that. Isn't that nice?
See, that is good.
Smooth. Okay, I'm going to try and get the tip of the brush here. Okay, and then our push-pull. Push and pull, push and pull, push and pull. Okay, and then here's probably the better part here. Look at that.
Yep. Those would make really good textures.
Yes. I need a little more water. Making some little dots. Yeah, so this one I don't have loaded as well, but the tip. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful. So that is the mop brush. Let's compare that real quick. Nice. Let's see, where was our Filbert brush? It was right here. So I think, so this blue aqua color here, or teal, this is just a little more even rounder because it has a thicker belly, more bristles to it. Okay, let's wash that off. You definitely don't have to have every kind of brush that I'm showing you. Definitely, the two that come in the acrylic starter box are both flat brushes. You have a 3/4 inch and a 1/4 inch if that's where you're starting painting with acrylics. So that's totally fine. And then just kind of, if you feel inspired by any of the strokes that you're seeing, you think, you know what, I think I could use that and I know how I could use that, give it a try. But don't feel obligated, right? You can slowly build your brush assortment as you go. All right, a couple more fun ones I think I'll show you. This is the fan brush.
Big fan.
Nice. Were you waiting? Were you waiting for that?
For days.
So I think with the fan brush, the trick is to not, I mean, you can use it you can use it fully loaded like this. And I'll show you kind of what that does. Kind of a big wide mark that you can make there.
Yeah.
But if I kind of like tap some of the paint off so that I can have this more open look here, like have some space between them and just kind of dab the very tips
that's a good
of the brush.
idea.
Then you can pull like this and you get, now I'm gonna add some more water. Then you can kind of get some lines.
Ooh, yeah.
So this is great for adding some texture if you want to do some grasses or if you just want to like an animal fur.
Yeah. Oh, those look like feathers.
They do look like feathers. I think you're right. Oops. All right.
They look like a tree root.
Like a tree root?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So like I think, let's see if I can do a line there. It's hard to get like a really thin line. You probably could if you really were trying. But I kind of do like the organic look of that where it's not perfect. So it looks more like it could be found in nature. One thing I think is cool too is like if you want to do something like that, dry brushing with the fan brush can give you some nice look. So,
might be good for some planned eyelashes.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Or you can use a liner for that as well.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a fan brush. Still a big fan?
Big fan.
Big fan.
Maybe a bigger fan now.
Maybe a bigger fan. I like it. Okay, so now I want to show you kind of a nice, very inexpensive brush that you can find at your hardware store. When I would shop for paint and brushes to paint like my trim and my walls at my house, I would always look at these and be like, really? Is somebody using that for painting their trim? Because you can't get super exact lines, but I found another use for it, and that is adding some texture and interest to your strokes, okay? So let me show you, let's do orange here. Let me show you what I mean. Have you ever used a chipped brush?
No.
No? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna load that up with some paint. Let's see what we got. Bring that across here. Ooh, look at that.
Ooh, that holds a lot of paint.
Yes. And then I'm just gonna try some little dabs here. You kind of get like almost like an iCat look. You know what I'm talking about? Kind of a pattern that was popular a while back.
iCat?
iCat look, yes.
I'm not sure what that is.
It is a type of, it's the name of a type of pattern that was popular probably, a long time ago, and then again 10 years ago maybe.
iCat.
Something like that, iCat. I'm gonna go and use this piece of paper too to kind of do a few more shapes. Not a lot of variety here, but as you can see, it just adds a ton of texture.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna show you what I like to use this one for in a little bit here.
Sweet.
When we do some techniques. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay, go ahead and brush this off. See what happens when I put the orange on top of the teal?
I love that.
Get kind of a muddy color. Okay. So now I want to talk to you about some different techniques that you can do using brushes. What I will show you first is how to make a wash with a flat brush. You can use extra water. You can add water to your paint. They say about 20 to 30% water to paint ratio. Like you can add 30% water to 70% paint ratio and still keep up the important qualities of your paint. And like if you're painting on a canvas, you want to make sure that the paint will bind to your canvas, also to paper. And so some say you can add up to 50% water. So don't be afraid to use some extra water and thin out your acrylic paints and just try and see what you can do. Okay, so this is kind of a wash here, so I'm adding some water. My paint is kind of dirty and I have some dry stuff on my palette, but that's okay. So see how you can get kind of a little watercolor-ish effect there?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that color on the bottom of the page the same color that you just painted?
It is. Yeah, see, that's a good point. You can tell the difference there.
How big of a difference, yeah.
Yes. I like doing that. Okay, and the next technique I'll show you is wet on wet. So let's see, what color should I do? Let me do green. You can, when you do a wet on wet technique, you can blend your acrylic paints together. One also neat thing about acrylics is that when they dry, which I'll show you with the next technique, you can just add another layer right on top, including if you don't like what you painted, you can always paint over it. So don't be afraid to, be brave. Don't be afraid to just take some risks. Yeah.
Yes. Let your creativity flow.
Yeah, just live on the edge.
Yes.
Yeah, Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add some of this blue here for wet on wet.
Ooh.
And so you can kind of mix that in as you go wet on wet here. And just to show you kind of what that's the original color.
That's a pretty color.
So you can kind of blend it in there, doing wet on wet.
The combo between those colors, excellent.
Yeah. Now with acrylic paint, when you're doing wet on wet, you want to make sure that your paint is actually wet, because if it's not and it's a little bit tacky, you can kind of make a little bit of a mess for yourself. So either let it dry completely when you want to add a new layer, or make sure it's nice and wet when you're working with it. And that'll give you better results. Okay, are you ready for the next one?
Always.
Always. Okay. Let's see. The next technique we're going to do is wet on dry, where you can see that we can put a nice opaque layer. I'm going to go ahead and add some, well, I was going to maybe add some white, but I don't think I need to. Yeah, I'm going to add a little bit of white here to this color. When you add white to acrylic paint, you're going to lighten the value. And so you also, when you add white to a color, if it's a more transparent color, you're going to add opacity. You can make it more opaque and less see-through. So I'm going to take this pink color, and then I'm just going to do some stripes right on top of here. So see how the true color is showing as opposed to here where it was blending in.
Okay.
And it's opaque. So you can't see any of the color behind it coming through. That is one of the differences between acrylic and watercolor for sure. Like you cannot re-wet acrylic and have it come come back up.
Nice,
lift
can
it up.
reactivate it,
Yeah.
okay.
Which can be, has its pros and cons.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so that is wet on dry.
Big fan.
Awesome. Okay. Let's do the next one. The next one is, Keenan, this might be your favorite.
Okay.
Sgraffito.
Sgraffito.
Yes.
I love that it has a
name. Yeah. I remember when I first came in to do some test shots in the studio, I started doing this technique and Keenan was like, what? he just kept talking about it like, whoa.
I did, I got excited about it.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. It's fun to see someone that hasn't experienced it before, like, get excited. That's fun.
Well, and you did.
I still get excited about it.
You did it so, like, nonchalantly that
Right?
I'm like, wait a second, we got to go back.
That's some white. Yeah, no, it's fun. And honestly, like, again, I just like having fun when I paint, and I love adding all the different layers of texture and details that I can add that kind of make it unique and add some interest to my painting. All right, so I'm just gonna kind of make a thick. Now for Sgraffito, I want doesn't have to be super thick, but I want a nice thick-ish layer. The thinner that I make it, the harder that'll be to scratch in. So yes, Sgraffito is when you either scratch in with a brush or...
And you chose a great color combo.
I don't know where a palette knife went, or you can use a palette knife. Yes, that was intentional.
How it sneaks through.
Yes, so like with for Sgraffito or scratching in, if you have a color underneath, and then you put a color on top, whatever was underneath is going to show through. So like if I were to do Sgraffito on this page, I would get, now most of this is wet, so I don't want to mess with it too much yet because I'll make some mud or brown colors. But I would show all these different colors through, depending on where my scratching in was, my Sgraffito is. Yeah. So I love to do that too. Using my brush boards or my background layers, then I put another layer on top, and then I might scratch through just a little bit because I don't usually like having a large, solid chunk of color, massive color. I like to break it up. So.
I see.
To each his own, right?
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
I get it.
There's a reason. Sometimes there's not. All right, so that's Sgraffito. Have you ever done dry brushing?
I have not.
You're in for a treat. So what do you think is the main way to do dry brushing? What's the main thing you need?
Dryness.
A dry brush, yes.
Dry brush.
Now you don't want to completely dry brush necessarily. When you do use brushes, you want them to be somewhat damp to get started and make sure that you get enough moisture up in here and into the heel of the brush all the way through the bristles. But for this one, I've noticed that to dry brush, it's finding a combination between using very little paint and a dryish brush. So dry kind of means like even less paint on your brush. Okay, so I'm gonna take this and I'm just gonna come over here. That's not very dry. I can even dab it on my paper towel. Still. Still.
Darn brushes.
There we go. Okay,
Ooh,
so there's kind of
you
some
go.
dry brush look there. Okay, and you can even get even more like some scrubbing or scruffy like looks depending on what brush you use too. That's dry brush. I might do some more over here. See, there you go. There you can see the dry brush.
That looks cool.
Yeah. You could do that like in the sky, maybe, right? Some wispy clouds or something, maybe?
I like that plan.
Yeah. Okay, there's one last technique I want to show you. And this is one that can be a little bit messy.
Good.
But so fun. I do this at home a lot. And my husband's very patient. So let's do this orange. Let's add some white to our orange color here. We are gonna do a splatter technique.
Yes.
And in order to do splatter, you need extra liquid. And so, let me add a little more orange here. So I'm gonna add some liquid here and really get in there and mix that up, adding that fluid. There are a couple different ways that you can splatter. If you want to be really gentle about it, you can kind of take it here and just go like this, you know, like that, cool. Like just really simple. Or if you want to get a little more, you know, serious about it.
Oh, snap.
You can flick your wrist.
Ooh.
I could just do the whole page if I wanted, right?
Oh.
Okay. So I like to do that when in the middle of my paintings usually. So I'll get to a certain point of my painting. Maybe I'm getting to a layer that looks something like this, and then I'll add some splatters to it.
Cool.
And then I'll probably let that dry and then go back later and add maybe a few more details or whatever it is that I'm trying to finish painting. And so the splatter will be kind of a subtle texture in the background.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, see how many things you can do? Isn't that fun? And here we go. Here's one of them. I'm just gonna add some of this on here.
That's a cool color.
Isn't this kind of fun? This is like your color. These are your colors, aren't they?
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. Okay, so that is the last technique that I'm gonna show you. A couple other things real quick. To clean your brushes, you want to get as much paint out of them as you can. Usually I'm gonna wipe that off on my brush board and then onto a paper towel first. Okay, so get as much paint off as I can, and then I'm gonna go into my water and I'm going to scrub my brush and get, again, try to get as much paint out as I can. I like to use this side to kind of go back and forth, and then I use this side to kind of get in there real good inside the belly of the brush.
Inside the belly of the beast.
Sure. Then I'm going to dab that off. One thing that you want to do when you're done cleaning your brush is to reshape the bristles into the shape that the brush is intended to be in. So if it's a flat brush, I'm going to kind of pull it this way and kind of squeeze all the bristles together and shape it like that. Of course, if it was a filbert brush, I would get the nice rounded toe and so forth. And then the best way to take care of your brush is to lay it flat to dry. And then when you store it, you want to store it also flat or straight up with the bristles up. The main thing is you don't want to put it straight up when it's still wet, because you're going to get liquid down into the ferrule and into your brush in here. Also, same thing, you don't want to leave your brush in water, because it could also damage your brush. If you, every once in a while, when you want to really get a deep clean for your brushes, you can use a brush cleaner. This one is called the Master's Brush Cleaner and Preserver. And so what this is, it's like kind of like a bar of soap almost. And you're just going to add some water to your brush, and then you're just going to kind of start swirling it around in here. And what it's going to do is it's really going to deep clean your brush like so. And if I had a dirtier brush, like this one actually, it's kind of dirty. I can see all the green in there. You might even start to see some like foamy colors come up. I have heard people say that these have saved some of their brushes, that they let the paint dry for too long, because acrylic paint is permanent. And so if you leave it on your brush too long, you could really ruin your brush. So be sure to rinse your brushes out before that happens. So anytime I leave my art area, I rinse out my brushes. I have forgotten one that was kind of off to the side before, and it's sad, but usually you can, if you can wash it out before it dries on there, you're in great shape. Good to go. Yeah. Okay, so these are the selection of brushes that I use regularly that I wanted to share with you, and feel free to try all or any of them. And if you'd like to see more of our Acrylic Beginner Series, check out letsmakeart.com.